Then we come to the world-famous Notre-Dame, which, unlike the other 1,500 Notre-Dames in France, is the Notre-Dame in Paris. Now, Louis VI moves his official residence to Paris in 1130. Before this, Paris is not that important of a place in Europe, and he's trying to make this the leading city of France, and really the leading city of Northern Europe. The Gothic cathedral here is begun by the Archbishop of Paris, and it's quite large for its time. It's 108 feet high, so roughly 10 stories, and 400 feet long, longer than a football field. And what makes this unique is, remember the kind of homes people are living in. They're going to be living in fairly dark homes, maybe with 1 or 2 windows. The ceilings in these homes are going to be maybe 6 feet. So they're very, very low. You're used to living in and working in fairly small quarters. So suddenly you come up against a building like this, and it is again a miracle on earth, which is good because it's going to encourage you to see this or feel this religious passion when you walk in, as if you're walking into an architectural miracle, something that should not be there but for the grace of God. So, it's also famous for the fact that in 1182, we see flying buttresses. We're not sure that this is the first site because they develop elsewhere as well, but they do appear here very, very early, and this allows for a higher, lighter, loftier structure than we've seen before. It also gives hiding places to Quasimodo, who's, of course, the famous bell ringer of Notre Dame, who doesn't actually exist but makes for an interesting slide. So as we look at the church, it's quite massive, and you can see those buttresses at work. Now, they could have used piers, in other words, just walls at a 90-degree angle to the wall they're trying to hold up, but then you wouldn't get that light coming in. So what they do here is they're using this flying buttress, and really they're using this part of the flying buttress, the upper part, to maintain, to take that weight and move it down to the ground. You can see it here. It moves the weight down to this larger pier and then down. But by leaving this large opening, it lets that light come into the window, which means I can have a lighter cathedral. Again, that idea that God appears in the light in these cathedrals. As we go inside, you'll see that they've again narrowed the nave a little bit, and they've raised that ceiling up. We've got the 6-part rib vault, which we've dealt with already at Leon. So here we have our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts. And we have a 3-part elevation. Although in this case it was originally conceived as 4 parts, but in the finished product we see 3. The arcade or aisle, the gallery, and the clerestory. And this, of course, will anticipate the high Gothic, with the 3-part elevation, the even larger windows, the flying buttresses. But there's one other thing to look at. Here's an elevation of Notre Dame. And by the way, here's a scale so you get the sense of people versus the interior space. You can imagine when you're used to living in a space that would actually fit easily in the cathedral, and this is probably a really big space, you can imagine living in a space that size and then walking into this cathedral and the grandeur you would have. But here we have the arcade with a double aisle, something that carries over from the Romanesque, this idea of a pilgrimage church. We have the gallery up here, which is quite massive. And then where we would have had a triform originally, right here, instead becomes part of the clerestory. So they're just incorporating it into the clerestory, because why have a triform when I can put a window there and bring in yet more light into the cathedral? So it's all about looking for light, looking to lighten those walls and create walls which are nothing more than columns and windows.